Hi, enjoy listening. Ethan Mercer leaned forward in his office chair, elbows on his desk, eyes fixed on the grainy footage playing on the monitor. It was just after midnight, and the restaurant was closed, the kitchen quiet, the lights dimmed to save power. Only the silent, blinking feed from the newly installed security cameras kept him company. He wasn't sure what he'd been expecting to see. Maybe a forgotten delivery, someone slipping through the alley. But what caught his attention instead was the dishwasher, Lily. Small frame, hair tucked into a faded bandana, moving fast but careful. She was dragging a duffel bag almost half her size toward the rear exit. Again. Ethan rewound the footage, slower this time. Same bag, same exit. No one else around. He tapped a pen on the desk. His jaw. The bistro had only been open a month. A dream Ethan had worked toward for years. Years of working in other people's kitchens, saving tip money, skipping vacations, watching every dollar. He hadn't been able to afford real security yet. The cameras were a splurge, a necessary one. Not because he distrusted people, but because, well, he wasn't stupid. He knew people took things. Kitchen towels, bottles of olive oil, silverware. But this was a pattern. And patterns didn't lie. Still, something about Lily made this harder to accept. She barely spoke, showed up on time, did her job without complaint, worked quietly, almost too quietly. She wasn't the type that stood out. But that bag, every night. He stood abruptly, his chair rolling backward with a soft squeak. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but he also wasn't going to be the kind of guy who looked the other way until he lost control of his own business. If someone was stealing, he had to deal with it. Now. And tonight, he'd have the chance. Lily and the manager were always the last to leave. Amanda, the manager, locked the main door, but Lily had been slipping out the back, probably because Amanda didn't bother walking her out. The back door locked from the inside only, a quirk of the old building. Perfect for someone who didn't want to be noticed. Ethan grabbed his keys off the hook, shrugged on his hoodie, and left the office without turning off the lights. The streets were mostly empty this late, the city quiet under a soft summer breeze. His place was just a few blocks from the bistro, 5 minutes by car. He pulled up without headlights, parking across the alley from the back entrance. Then he waited. 10 minutes passed, then 15. His phone buzzed with a notification from the bistro's alarm system. Armed. That meant Amanda was gone. He sat up straighter, hands gripping the wheel. A minute later, the back door creaked open. There she was. Lily stepped out, holding the same duffel bag, careful not to let it bump against the frame. She was glancing over her shoulder, moving like someone who didn't want to be seen. That settled it. Ethan opened his door and stepped out into the alley. "Hey!" Lily froze. She turned slowly, her eyes wide in the dark. "Oh, she said softly, her voice barely louder than the wind. Mr. Mercer. Ethan took a step closer, keeping his voice level. Late night, huh? She nodded, shifting the bag behind her with one hand. Just finished up, was heading home. What's in the bag? Her shoulders tensed. Just stuff, she said. Personal things. Mind showing me? She clutched the strap tighter, her knuckles white. It's nothing bad, I promise. Lily, he said, gently now. I'm not trying to embarrass you, but you've been leaving with that bag every night. I've got cameras now. I saw it. I need to know what's going on. She hesitated for a long second. Then came a soft, muffled sound from the bag. A small squeak. Ethan's brows drew together. What was that? Lily let out a shaky breath. Her shoulders sagged as if the weight of the world was pressing down on her. She knelt and carefully unzipped the duffel bag. Inside, swaddled in a soft, worn blanket, was a baby. Tiny, peaceful, fast asleep. Ethan took a step back. Jesus, he whispered. Is that your baby? Lily didn't look up. She gently lifted the baby into her arms, holding her close with the kind of practiced care that only came from repetition. Yes, she said. Her name's Ellie. He stared. You've been bringing her to work? I didn't have a choice. Her voice trembled, but her hands didn't. She's quiet. I keep her in the supply closet. It's clean. I check on her every 10 minutes. She never cries. She's good. She's a good baby. Ethan was at a loss. A baby? At work. Hidden behind shelves of extra plates and boxes of dish soap. He looked at the tiny girl, then back at Lily. I should fire you, he said, more to himself than to her. I know. Lily nodded, lips trembling. I get it. But I'm not going to. Her head snapped up. I'm going to walk you home. You don't have to. I want to. He reached for the bag. Give me that. You've got enough to carry. She hesitated, then handed it to him. They started walking. He didn't ask her anything at first. Just listened to the soft rustle of the trees, the night sounds, and the occasional hiccup from the baby. Lily lived close, just around the corner, in an old house with peeling paint and overgrown grass. The porch light was out. A security notice was half ripped off the front window. As she fumbled with her keys, Ethan asked quietly, You live here alone? She nodded. Since my grandma passed. It's just us now. They stepped inside. He didn't comment on the sagging furniture, or the fact that there were baby bottles drying next to cracked dishes. He just followed her in and placed the duffel bag on the couch. Lily turned to him, clutching Ellie tighter. Am I fired? Ethan looked at her. Really looked. She was tired. So tired, she looked older than 22. But there was no anger, no excuses, just a kind of quiet dignity that made him pause. No, he said, but things can't go on like this. I know. We'll figure something out. She blinked at him. You mean you'll help? He nodded once. You're not the first person in a hard spot. I've been there too. For the first time, she seemed unsure of what to say. He turned to go. I'll see you tomorrow, he said. Get some sleep. And with that, he left, the door clicking shut behind him. But as he walked back down the steps, he knew one thing for sure. This was more than just a restaurant problem now. This was something else entirely. Lily closed the door behind Ethan and leaned her forehead against it, trying to stop the shaking in her hands. Ellie stirred slightly against her shoulder, but didn't wake. Her face was burning. He knew now. The one secret she'd managed to keep buried in the quiet corners of the restaurant for weeks. Exposed. She had been terrified he'd call the police, or fire her on the spot, or worse, call Child Protective Services. But he hadn't. Instead, Ethan Mercer had walked her home and carried her bag like it weighed nothing. Lily exhaled, her throat tight. She looked around the dark living room and whispered, Well, kiddo, that was close. She laid Ellie gently on a folded blanket in the playpen beside the couch, her tiny arms rising briefly before she settled again into sleep. Lily crouched beside her, brushing a wisp of hair off her forehead. You're such a good baby, she murmured. You make it all seem almost manageable. But it wasn't manageable, not really. She stood, walked into the kitchen, and filled a bottle with the last of the formula. Enough for maybe 2 more feedings. She didn't have money for more. Not until Friday. And if Ethan hadn't left that cash last night, she opened the drawer in the kitchen table and took out the folded bills he had slipped between the napkins. $100. She hadn't spent a cent of it. Not yet. But now she might have to. Because Ellie was warm. Too warm. Lily placed a hand on her daughter's forehead and bit her lip. Still hot. Just a cold, maybe. But she couldn't take chances. She had no car, but the pharmacy was only 1 block over. A 5-minute walk, maybe less if she hurried. Ellie was sleeping peacefully. She could be back before the baby even noticed. Lily grabbed her keys and wallet, paused at the door, then glanced back. Ellie was still sound asleep. She left quietly, heart pounding, every step down the front walk, echoing with guilt. Across the street, a car idled. The headlights were off, but the silhouette of a man leaned forward in the driver's seat, watching the porch. He waited 30 seconds after Lily disappeared around the corner, then stepped out, stretching lazily. He was in his 20s, all smug grin and empty eyes. Behind him, another man and a young woman climbed out of the back seat, walking with him up the path like they owned the place. The woman pulled a thick envelope from her purse. Lily's heart was pounding as she hurried down the sidewalk, her hands clammy around her wallet. She hated leaving Ellie, even for a minute. But her baby's skin had been so hot. She bought infant Tylenol and a small pack of wipes, handing over the money Ethan had left without hesitation. Worth every penny. She sprinted home, shoes slapping the pavement, and froze the moment she saw her front door slightly ajar. Her breath caught. No. She rushed up the steps, shoving the door open with her shoulder. 3 people stood inside. The young man closest to the couch turned and smiled like they were old friends. "Well, well," he said. "The single mom returns. Out shopping?" Lily's stomach twisted. She recognized him. He was with the group that had come before, the ones who kept pushing her to sell the house. The same ones who'd left veiled threats and business cards on her gate. She stepped inside cautiously, eyes darting to the playpen. Ellie was still asleep. "Thank God." "You need to leave," Lily said, her voice low. The woman at the table rolled her eyes and spread out paperwork. "Just hear us out. We're making a very generous offer." "I already said no. You don't get to just let yourselves in." The older man leaned back in his chair. "You know, I had a cousin once. Didn't sell when he should have. Place caught fire one night. Accidents happen." Lily's blood ran cold. "I'm calling the police." "You do that," the young man said. "Let's see how interested they are in helping a single girl hiding a baby in a supply closet while she washes dishes under the table. Want to explain that to a judge?" Lily's fingers clenched into fists. "Get out!" He took a step toward her, suddenly all threat. But he didn't make it far. From behind him, the front door slammed open. Ethan's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "She said, get out!" Everyone turned at once. The young man looked up, startled, and then was suddenly airborne, crashing onto the floor with a grunt. Ethan didn't even break stride. He stepped over the man and fixed his eyes on the others. "You've got 10 seconds, he said evenly. "Unless you want to find out how fast I can call a lawyer, a cop, and a reporter." The older man paled. The woman quickly shoved the papers back into her bag. They scrambled for the door, dragging the groaning younger man with them. No one looked back. When the door slammed shut behind them, Lily sagged against the wall, shaking. Ethan turned to her, still breathing hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't know they'd come back," she whispered. "I thought they were just trying to scare me. I thought—" He stepped closer, and his face softened. "Lily," he said quietly, "you can't be here anymore, not with Ellie. It's not safe." "I don't have anywhere else to go." "Yes, you do." She blinked at him. "Where?" "My place." She stared at him, stunned. "I mean it," he said. "I've got space, and cameras, and a door that locks, just until we figure things out." Her bottom lip trembled. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not." She didn't answer, just turned toward the playpen and gently picked up Ellie, who had started to fuss. "You really mean that?" she asked, not looking at him. "I do." "Okay," she whispered. "Let me pack a bag." 10 minutes later, they were walking out of the house. Lily had Ellie in one arm and a backpack over the other. Ethan held the door open, and turned just as the nosy neighbour from across the hall poked her head out. "Well, look who finally showed up," the woman said with a grin. "Is this the baby daddy or just another visitor?" Ethan gave her a charming wolfish smile. "From now on, you'll need to clean up after yourself. Lily won't be doing that anymore." The neighbour's face fell. She slammed her door shut without another word. Lily stifled a laugh. She looked up at Ethan, unsure of what to say. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you two home." And this time, she followed him without question. Ethan's apartment wasn't what Lily expected. She didn't know what she had expected. Something cold, maybe, modern and masculine, full of metal and dark colours, like the kind of sleek restaurant kitchens she'd worked in. But when he unlocked the door and nudged it open with his shoulder, she stepped into something softer. The place was big, sure. High ceilings, a wide open living room, and hardwood floors. But lived in. Comfortable. Warm. There were books stacked on the coffee table. A fleece throw folded neatly over the back of a worn leather couch. The kitchen, visible from the entryway, had more mugs than anyone needed. All mismatched. One even had a cracked handle and the words "World's Okayest Chef" scribbled on it. "You can set her down here if you want," Ethan said, motioning toward the couch. Lily shifted Ellie, whose tiny fists were curled against her chest, and gave a little nod. "She'll want to eat soon. I'll clear the guest room." He hesitated, then glanced toward the hallway. "Actually, that room still needs some work. It's kind of a mess. You two should take the master bedroom for now." Lily blinked. "But no arguing." He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "It's warmer, quieter. And the crib can go in there. I'll sleep in the spare room." She didn't want to say yes. It felt wrong. Too generous. Too close. But it was almost 1 a.m., and her baby was starting to squirm, and the sound of a locked door behind her felt like the first real safety she'd had in weeks. "Okay," she whispered. He walked them down the hallway and opened the bedroom door. It was clean and simple. Navy bedding, soft lamplight, a tall dresser, and a huge window facing the quiet side of the building. A pile of clean laundry sat at the foot of the bed. A bathrobe was draped over a chair. Lily stepped in slowly, rocking Ellie gently, and took a deep breath. "You okay?" Ethan asked behind her. She nodded. "Just haven't been in a place this quiet in a long time." He smiled. "Well, it won't stay that way once she wakes up." She gave him a tired, crooked grin. "No, probably not." He lingered in the doorway, as if he wanted to say something else, but then just said, "I'll go clear out the spare room. Holler if you need anything." Lily watched him walk away. The hallway light threw long shadows as his silhouette disappeared. She sat on the edge of the bed and pressed her lips to Ellie's forehead. Safe for now. The next morning, Ethan woke to the smell of something cooking. He sat up slowly, still in jeans and a hoodie from the night before, and blinked at the soft grey light slipping in through the window. He hadn't slept well, too many thoughts circling his brain like vultures. But he dozed eventually. And now, was that eggs? He padded into the hallway barefoot. The kitchen looked completely different. The sink was empty. The counters had been wiped down. A pan sizzled on the stove, and Lily stood in front of it, still in her worn jeans and a t-shirt that looked like it had seen better days, holding Ellie in one arm and flipping something with the other. He rubbed the back of his neck. "You don't have to do all this." She turned, startled. "Oh, sorry, I couldn't sleep." She was fussy, so I figured I'd... She motioned at the stove. "Repay some of the kindness. You had a lot of dishes." Ethan glanced at the sink. He hadn't realized how messy it had gotten. Usually lived on frozen meals and coffee. "I cook for a living," he said, stepping in. "But I won't lie. This smells better than anything I've made in my own house in months." Lily flushed a little and shrugged. "I just used what you had." He noticed the baby bottle drying beside the sink, and next to it, the folded receipt from the pharmacy. He didn't say anything, but he noticed. He pulled out a chair. "How's Ellie doing?" "Better," Lily said, glancing down at her daughter, who was now chewing on her tiny fist. "The medicine worked. Her fever broke overnight." He smiled gently. "Glad to hear it." She placed a plate in front of him. Eggs, toast, a bit of sautéed spinach. He took a bite and groaned. "You're officially hired." She laughed for the first time since he'd met her, and he liked the sound of it more than he expected. Later that day, Ethan made some calls. He didn't tell Lily, but he reached out to a buddy of his who had worked in social services. Asked questions about squatters, threats, what legal options someone like Lily had. He didn't have a solution yet, but he was working on one. Back at the apartment, Lily sat on the floor of the bedroom, folding baby clothes. She'd been thinking all morning. Ethan was kind. Too kind. He didn't press, didn't ask about Ellie's father, didn't lecture her about lying or hiding things. He just helped, and it made her nervous, because kindness like that always came with strings, didn't it? She remembered Cody's easy smile when they first met, his promises, his charm, and how all of it evaporated the second she told him she was pregnant. He'd taken the last of her grandmother's jewelry when he left. Never looked back. Lily looked at Ellie, who was batting at the soft stuffed elephant she'd propped up in the crib. "What do you think?" she whispered. "Is it too good to be true?" The baby cooed and Lily sighed. That evening, Ethan returned home with something tucked under his arm. "A few things," he said casually, placing a brand new stroller and a sealed package of baby clothes by the door. "Figured you might need them." Lily stared, her throat closed. "I can't take this," she said, shaking her head. "I don't know when I could even begin to pay you back." He gave her a look. "I didn't say anything about paying me back." "But, Lily," his voice was gentle but firm, "you don't owe me anything." She wanted to argue, but her eyes were already filling with tears. And he looked so sincere. So instead, she reached out and touched his arm. "Thank you." He only nodded, and for a long moment, neither of them moved. That night, as she watched Ellie sleep in her brand new crib, right there in the safety of a warm, quiet home, Lily allowed herself a small thought. Maybe this time, things really could be different. The week passed more quickly than Lily expected. Days settled into a rhythm. Ethan left early for the restaurant. Lily kept the apartment tidy, cooked simple meals, and looked after Ellie with a kind of watchful peace she hadn't known in months. At night, they shared quiet dinners, sometimes talking, sometimes just listening to the hum of the city outside the windows. He never caressed her, never hovered, but he was always there, reliable, kind. And that, more than anything, terrified her, because kindness felt like a loan she didn't know how to repay. That Thursday afternoon, Lily bundled Ellie into her wrap and stepped out for the first time in days. The pharmacy was only 3 blocks away. She didn't want to ask Ethan to pick up more diapers again. He had already done too much. Besides, it was still light out. Breezy, quiet. She'd be quick. She locked the door behind her and walked fast. She didn't notice the black sedan idling across the street. The man was waiting when she returned. He was leaning against the side of the building, near the stairwell, cigarette in hand, sunglasses, even though the sun was already dipping low. She knew his face too well. Brent, one of the men who'd come to the house last week, slamming their fists against the screen door, tossing out threats like beer cans. "Well, well," he said as she neared. "Thought you disappeared." Her breath caught. Ellie stirred against her chest, sensing the tension. Lily looked behind her. Empty sidewalk. No neighbours. No Ethan. "I don't want any trouble," she said, voice low. "You need to leave." Brent grinned. "Trouble? You've already got it, sweetheart. That house of yours, it's not worth squat. But my boss still wants it. And when he wants something, he gets it. I told your friend last time." "Yeah? And you didn't listen. So now I'm here." He took a step forward. Lily backed up, clutching Ellie. "Look, just take the cash, sign the papers. We'll even throw in a little bonus so you can skip town." "I'm not selling." He leaned in close. His voice dropped. "You think that baby's gonna protect you?" Something snapped in her then, not loudly, but clean, like a thread pulled too tight. "Get away from us," she whispered. But Brent didn't move. He reached into his coat pocket, and for one breathless second, Lily thought he might pull a weapon. Instead, he pulled out a folded document. "Deed transfer," he said. Just needs your signature. She stared at it. You show up at my house again, she said, her voice shaking now. And I'm calling the police. He smirked. You think they'll care about a squatter in a dead woman's house? I'm not a squatter. I'm her granddaughter. He held the paper out toward her. She didn't take it. Brent was about to speak again, when another voice cut through the air behind her. You need to leave. Now! Ethan. He stepped out from the alleyway beside the building, keys in one hand, jaw tight, eyes cold. Brent turned, clearly surprised, but not scared. Friend of yours? Ethan walked slowly forward. I won't say it again. Brent looked him up and down, then shrugged. Have it your way. He dropped the deed transfer to the ground and crushed his cigarette with the toe of his boot. You'll regret this, he muttered, turning back toward the street. Ethan didn't move until the car doors slammed and the black sedan peeled off. Only then did he exhale. Are you okay? He asked, eyes immediately on Lily and on Ellie, who had started to whimper. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. He reached out instinctively, gently guiding her back toward the stairwell. Inside the apartment, once the door was locked, Lily collapsed onto the couch. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, holding her baby, eyes hollow. I'm sorry, she said finally. Ethan crouched beside her. Don't apologize. This wasn't your fault. I should have told you. Her voice cracked. About them. About everything. You were scared. I still am. He looked at her for a long time. Okay. Then, you can't stay here forever. Not like this. That guy will come back. And next time, I might not be 5 minutes away. She looked down at Ellie. The baby was finally sleeping again, thumb near her cheek. I don't know what to do, Lily said. Then let me help. She looked up at him. Why are you doing this? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood up, paced once toward the window, and then back. I grew up in a place not too different from yours, he said quietly. My mum waited tables, just like you. My dad disappeared before I could remember him. Some nights, we went to bed with only heat from the oven. I made it out, barely. He looked at her then. I don't like bullies. I don't like watching people get pushed around just because they don't have power or money. She stared at him, and for the first time, she saw something in his expression that wasn't just kindness. It was recognition, like he understood something about her life that no one else had even tried to. I can't stay here forever, she said again, softer this time. Then stay for now, he replied. Just for now. And when she didn't say no, Ethan pulled a blanket off the chair and gently draped it around her shoulders. That night, Lily watched him from the doorway of the bedroom as he typed something on his laptop at the kitchen table. She'd meant to thank him again, but instead, she just watched and wondered what it would feel like to let herself trust someone again. For real. Rain tapped gently against the windows the next morning. Ethan had already left for the restaurant by the time Lily stirred, and the apartment felt both quiet and heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Ellie, nestled in her crib, babbled softly to her stuffed elephant, utterly unaware of the weight in her mother's chest. Lily poured herself a cup of coffee and stood by the window for a long time, watching water trickle down the glass. Her mind wouldn't stop spinning. Brent knew where she was. And worse, he'd brought paperwork, which meant the threats were getting more serious, more organized. And if Ethan hadn't shown up when he did, she didn't let herself finish that thought. Instead, she went into the bedroom and pulled her old canvas tote from under the bed. She hadn't opened it since the night she left the house. She kept telling herself she'd go back when it was safe, sort through the rest of her grandmother's things, salvage what she could. But now she wasn't sure she'd ever step foot in that place again. She sat on the floor and dumped the contents of the bag onto the carpet. Bills, a worn photo album, the baby's birth certificate, and at the very bottom, a thick manila envelope. Lily stared at it. She didn't remember packing that. Carefully, she peeled it open. Inside were yellowing legal documents, land records, an old deed, and something that made her breath catch. Her grandmother's will. It was handwritten, barely legible in places, but still stamped by a notary, dated just 6 months before her death. I leave the house at 221 Ethel Avenue, and all contents therein to my granddaughter, Lily Ann Carter, who has cared for me through my final years. I trust her to keep it in the family and protect what matters most. Lily pressed her hand to her mouth. All this time, she'd believed there was no will, that the house had gone into probate or been claimed by the state, or worse. That's what the men at the door had told her. That's what the bank letters seemed to suggest. But this changed everything. She grabbed her phone with trembling fingers and snapped pictures of every page. She needed help, real help, legal help. And suddenly, she knew who to call. 2 hours later, she sat across from Carmen Vega in a small cluttered law office that smelled like lemon-scented paper and old books. Carmen had been one of her grandmother's oldest friends and was still one of the few people Lily trusted in the world. "Let me see it," Carmen said, adjusting her glasses. Lily handed over the papers. Carmen read silently for several minutes. "Well," she said at last, looking up, "this is valid. It's old, but notarized, clear language. And if you've been living in the home and taking care of her before she passed, you're in a strong position." "Then why is everyone acting like I have no rights?" Lily asked, her voice rising despite herself. "Why did they say the house was abandoned?" "Because people like Brent prey on fear. They count on folks not knowing the law. They toss around threats and half-truths, hoping you'll cave. Most people do." "But I didn't," Lily said, softly. Carmen smiled. No, you didn't. She gathered the papers into a neat stack. I'll file the claim officially. It may take a few weeks, but this puts you on solid ground. Until then, keep that baby safe and stay with people you trust. Lily hesitated. That's the other part. Carmen raised an eyebrow. I'm staying with someone, Lily said carefully. A friend. He's been helping. A man? Lily nodded. Carmen looked at her a moment, then said, Just be sure he's helping because he wants to, not because he expects something in return. He hasn't asked for anything, Lily said quickly. Carmen gave her a look. I'm not saying he will, but I've known too many women who mistook safety for love, or worse, felt like they owed someone for giving them a place to breathe. Lily looked down at her hands. That was exactly what she'd been afraid of. Do you trust him? Carmen asked. Lily thought about Ethan's steady voice, the stroller, the blanket, the way he never pushed. I think I do, she whispered. When Lily returned to the apartment that afternoon, she found Ethan in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, working on some kind of elaborate prep involving lemons, rosemary, and what looked like half a dozen raw chickens. Don't judge, he said, with a quiet smile. He said, without looking up. I cook stress away. She smiled faintly and leaned against the doorway. Rough day at the restaurant. Health inspector showed up unannounced. One of the dishwashers quit, and my sous chef managed to burn a vat of caramel sauce so badly I had to toss the pot. That does sound stressful. He finally looked up at her. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I found something. My grandmother's will. His eyes widened slightly. She left the house to me. Officially. Carmen's going to file the paperwork. That's incredible, he said, a smile slowly spreading. So those guys really have no claim at all? Not legally, no, but they're still dangerous. He sobered. Then you're staying here until this is over. No arguments. She nodded. Then, can I help with that? Motioned toward the chaos on the counter. He handed her a lemon. Only if you promise not to judge my overuse of garlic, she laughed. Deal. They worked in easy silence for a few minutes, chopping, tossing, seasoning. At one point, their hands brushed over the same bowl. They both froze. Then Ethan said, Sorry, and stepped back. But her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Possibility. That night, Lily tucked Ellie into the crib, then stood at the bedroom window, staring out at the rain-slicked city. She held the copy of the will in her hand. For the first time in weeks, she felt like the ground under her feet was solid. But her heart was still full of questions. She'd escaped danger. She'd found safety. Now the harder part began. What did it mean to build a life again, after losing everything? And was it possible that love, not the kind that traps, but the kind that frees, could be part of that life too? The storm passed by morning. The city woke slowly under a slate-grey sky, streets still damp, the air heavy with petrichor. In the quiet kitchen, Lily poured coffee into 2 mugs, the smell rising like comfort. She hadn't slept much, but for the first time in a long time, it wasn't fear that had kept her awake. It was hope, and that scared her more than any knock on the door. Ethan emerged from the hallway, rubbing the back of his neck, hair tousled. His t-shirt was wrinkled, and he looked half asleep, but he smiled when he saw her. "You made coffee," he said, pleasantly surprised. She handed him a mug. "Least I could do after you cooked enough chicken to feed a wedding party." "I'm telling you, stressed chicken is a thing," he said, sipping. "Works better than therapy." She smiled, then looked down. There was something she needed to say, something that had been building in her since yesterday, but she didn't quite know how to begin. "Ethan," she started, then hesitated. "Yeah? I don't know how to do this." He set the mug down. "Do what?" "This. Being around someone, depending on them." She swallowed hard. "I've always had to keep moving, keep my guard up. Even when I was with Ellie's father, it was like I had to be the strong one all the time. And now I'm here, and you're being kind, and I don't know what to do with that." Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he said gently, "You don't have to do anything." She looked at him. "I'm not expecting some grand gesture," he said. "You don't owe me for sleeping on my couch or borrowing my spoons. I'm here because I want to be. That's it." Lily exhaled. "But," he added, "if you ever want to talk, really talk, I'll listen." Her throat tightened. "You might regret that." "I doubt it." Later that day, while Ethan was at work and Ellie napped, Lily sat at the table with her laptop, scanning job boards. Most postings required full-time hours, flexible weekends, and a level of availability she couldn't promise. She sighed and clicked away from the screen. She missed working. Not just for the paycheck, but for the structure, the independence. She wanted to earn her way, not just survive. The apartment door buzzed. Her head snapped up. Nobody ever buzzed up, not without calling first. She went to the intercom. "Hello?" A female voice answered. "Lily Carter?" Her heart jumped. "Yes?" "This is Detective Valerie Crane with the 9th District. I'd like to speak with you." Lily froze. Had Brent filed some sort of complaint? Were they accusing her now? She buzzed the door without answering, heart pounding. The knock came a minute later, firm, professional. Lily opened the door a crack, Ellie beginning to stir in the background. The woman standing there wore jeans, a navy windbreaker, and a gold badge clipped to her belt. Her brown hair was tied back, and her expression was calm, unreadable. "Detective Crane," she said, holding up her badge. "May I come in?" Lily hesitated, then opened the door wider. The detective stepped in and glanced around. Nice place. "I'm staying with a friend," Lily said. "What's this about?" Crane reached into her jacket and pulled out a small folder. She opened it slowly and laid out a photograph on the table. It was Brent. I'm investigating several reports involving this man, she said. Threats, coercion, suspected fraud. We received an anonymous tip that he's been targeting vulnerable homeowners in older neighborhoods. You were mentioned. Lily's eyes widened. He came to my house twice, threatened me, tried to force me to sign over my grandmother's property. Did he use physical force? No, but he cornered me, got aggressive. I have the deed and my grandmother's will. Crane nodded, taking notes. Do you still have the paperwork? Yes, copies and originals. Would you be willing to file a statement? Lily hesitated. Miss Carter, Crane said gently, you're not in trouble. But if we're going to build a case against this guy, we need victims willing to speak up. She looked over at Ellie's crib, where the baby had fallen back asleep. I'll do it, Lily said. That night, Ethan found her sitting on the couch, laptop open but forgotten. He sat beside her. Rough day? She nodded. Detective came by. She's building a case against Brent. I gave her everything. He let out a low whistle. That's big. I'm scared, she admitted, but I'm also tired of hiding. He didn't say anything, just put his hand lightly over hers. I also started looking at part-time work, she said. Remote stuff, customer service, data entry, anything I can do while Ellie naps. Ethan smiled. You're not slowing down, are you? I can't afford to. He watched her for a long moment, then said, You know, the restaurant's looking for someone to help with admin work, ordering supplies, payroll, scheduling. It's behind-the-scenes stuff, flexible hours. I could talk to the owner. Lily blinked. Seriously? He nodded. You'd be perfect for it, and we'd pay you fairly. She hesitated. Would it be weird, us working together? Ethan shrugged. Only if we make it weird. She laughed. I'll think about it. Good. That's all I'm asking. That night, as she brushed her teeth and tiptoed past the crib, Lily realized something had shifted. Not just with the detective or the job, but inside her. For the first time in months, she wasn't just reacting, she was deciding. Not everything was fixed, not even close, but the panic that had lived under her skin since the day she left her grandmother's house had started to loosen its grip. And in the quiet, in the stillness between storms, she began to imagine a different kind of future, one where she wasn't just surviving, one where she was building something. The next Monday morning, Lily stood behind the hostess counter of Luca's, the small but popular Italian place where Ethan worked, and now where she worked too. It wasn't official yet, but Ethan had spoken to Arturo, the owner, a wiry older man with a weathered face and hands that looked like they'd needed dough for decades. He'd invited Lily in for a trial week, just to see if she could keep up with the restaurant's tempo. Don't smile too much, Arturo had warned dryly when he met her. People will think we're a fast food chain. Lily had barely held back a nervous laugh. Her job wasn't glamorous. Taking delivery calls, managing the staff's hours in a clunky scheduling app, printing invoices, but it was steady. It was flexible. And best of all, it was hers. Arturo had even set up a small space in the back office where she could keep Ellie's portable crib for now. It was the first time Lily had earned a paycheck since her grandmother died. And it mattered. Midweek, Ethan peeked his head into the office during the lunch lull. "You okay?" he asked. Lily looked up from the spreadsheet she was trying to organize. "Mostly. The dishwasher called out again. Arturo is muttering something about firing everyone under 30. And I just accidentally sent the produce order to a florist." Ethan grinned. "So, a normal Wednesday." She leaned back. "Why do people choose this line of work again?" "Because it's the only place misfits and perfectionists can coexist in harmony." She gave him a tired smile. "And what are you?" He thought for a second. "A perfectionist, with a soft spot for misfits." Something flickered between them, brief but charged. Lily looked away first. "Do you want to come over for dinner?" Ethan asked. "Nothing fancy, just pasta and music and maybe an hour without invoices." She hesitated. He saw it. "No pressure," he said. "I just thought you might want to eat something that wasn't microwaved." "I'd like that," she said softly. "Thank you." That night, after putting Ellie down in the corner of the apartment turned nursery, Lily found herself in Ethan's kitchen again. Only this time, she wasn't just watching. She was helping. She chopped garlic while he stirred sauce. He poured wine while she set out mismatched plates. And when they finally sat down, it felt easy, like they'd done this 100 times before. "Do you ever miss your family?" Lily asked, twirling pasta around her fork. Ethan shrugged. "Sometimes. My mum passed a few years ago. My dad's still in Boston. We talk, but it's not the same." "No siblings?" "One older brother. We don't really talk." "Why not?" He sighed. "Let's just say he inherited the ambition gene, and I inherited, well, the apron." She smiled. "Could have been worse." "I'm not complaining. I like what I do. I just wish he saw it as real." Lily nodded. Understanding that better than she could say. "What about you?" he asked. "You haven't said much about your family." She froze for a second. "My parents left when I was little. I don't remember much. My grandma raised me. She was everything. Tough, stubborn, and kind in ways most people never saw. She must have been amazing. She was. When she got sick, I dropped out of school to take care of her. I always figured I'd go back once things settled, but then Ellie came along." He looked at her for a long time. "You're not stuck, you know," he said. "What do you mean?" "You're in survival mode. I get it. But you're allowed to want more. You're allowed to dream again." She looked down at her plate. "I don't even know what I dream about anymore." He reached across the table and gently touched her hand. "Well, maybe you'll figure it out, one night at a time." After dinner, they stood at the sink, washing dishes, like some kind of domestic sitcom. "Do you miss cooking at home?" Lily asked. "I usually just eat cereal at midnight," Ethan admitted. "This is nicer." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ethan said, "I'm glad you're here." Lily turned, surprised. "I mean that," he added. "You've changed the whole rhythm of this place. It feels less empty." Something inside her cracked open at his words. She didn't say anything. But when he reached for a dish, and their hands brushed again, she didn't pull away. Later, alone in the guest room, Lily stood over Ellie's crib, brushing her tiny fingers through the baby's fine hair. "I think we're okay here," she whispered. "For now." The soft glow of the city lights spilled through the window. Lily sat on the bed, holding the baby monitor, the will tucked safely in her bag, her first paycheck folded neatly into her journal. It wasn't much, but it was hers. And for the first time in a very long time, she wasn't looking over her shoulder. She was looking forward. The first sign something was wrong came on a quiet Thursday morning. Lily was at Luca's, sorting invoices in the back office, while Ellie slept peacefully in her travel crib. Arturo had stepped out to deal with a supplier issue, and Ethan was prepping in the kitchen. The radio played faint jazz in the background. Everything felt routine. Safe. Then the front door opened. A man's voice, gruff and unmistakably arrogant, cut through the air. "Looking for Lily Carter." Lily froze, her pen stilling mid-sentence. The voice didn't sound angry, just calm. Too calm. She stepped into the dining room, heart thudding. He stood near the entrance. Dark slacks, tailored coat, a smirk that hadn't changed since the last time she saw him. Brent. He looked around the restaurant like it was beneath him, then spotted her. "There she is, Lily," he said, hands spread. "Wow, paper napkins and all. Didn't think I'd find you hiding out in a pizza joint." Her breath caught, but she stood her ground. "You're not supposed to be here," she said. "There's a police report." "Oh, I know. Detective Crane, right?" He took a step closer. "She's cute, real intense. Told her everything. I'm just a businessman, victim of a misunderstanding." "You threatened me." Brent's face didn't change. "Careful what you say. Wouldn't want to complicate things." Ethan appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands with a towel, brow furrowed. "Is there a problem?" Brent turned, instantly sizing him up. "Boyfriend?" "Co-worker," Lily snapped. Ethan didn't move. "You should leave." Brent smiled politely. "Sure. I just came to make sure Lily understands what she's getting into. Court cases get messy and stressful, especially for single moms." Lily felt the words hit like a slap. Brent tipped an imaginary hat and turned for the door. "Nice spot, by the way. Hope the food's better than the attitude." And then he was gone. Later that night, Lily sat on the couch in Ethan's apartment, silent. Ellie slept in the next room, undisturbed by the sudden tremor that had passed through her mother's life, like a fault line shifting beneath the surface. "I should have known he'd show up," Lily said quietly. "He's too arrogant to disappear quietly." Ethan handed her a cup of tea. "He came to scare you, but it didn't work." "It did work," she admitted. "I'm scared. Not just for me, for Ellie. I thought if I just stayed small enough, quiet enough, he'd stop." "You tried to survive," Ethan said. "That's not weakness, that's instinct." She looked down. "But maybe I should have kept running." Ethan's voice was gentle but firm. "You didn't come here to hide. You came here to fight. Quietly, maybe, but still." She looked at him then, really looked. There was no judgment in his face, only steady presence. "I think I'm falling apart," she whispered. "You're not," he said. "You're finally letting someone help carry the weight." The next day, Lily met Detective Crane at a coffee shop near the precinct. She told her everything about Brent's surprise visit, the veiled threats, the way he'd used Ellie's name. Crane's face darkened. "He's testing boundaries, seeing what he can get away with. Can you do anything?" "We can issue a formal no-contact order. He'll be arrested if he approaches you again. It's not perfect, but it's something." Lily signed the paperwork. "You're doing the right thing," Crane said. "People like him, they count on silence, on fear." Lily nodded, but her hands trembled as she lifted her cup. Back at the restaurant, Arturo surprised her with something small, but it meant everything. "A key to the back door," he said gruffly, "in case you ever need to come in early or late. You've earned it." She blinked back tears. "Thank you." He just nodded and walked away, muttering something about too much emotion before noon. Lily ran her fingers over the key. It wasn't much, but it was trust. That night, after work, Ethan waited for her by the door with takeout and a new baby monitor system, one with a camera. "Just a little extra peace of mind," he said. "Figured we could install it together." She took the box, heart full. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," he interrupted gently. "That okay?" She smiled. "Yeah, it's okay." As they ate quietly, shoulder to shoulder on the couch, the city buzzing outside, she realized something had shifted again. She wasn't just surviving. She was rooted. Still cautious, still afraid, but no longer running. Brent could haunt the edges of her life, but he didn't own the center anymore. And that made all the difference. Summer crept into the city like a soft hum. Longer days, heavy air, and sun-warmed sidewalks. Life inside Lucas settled into a rhythm. Late lunch rushes, Arturo's muttering about tomatoes being too watery this season, Ethan singing off-key as he chopped onions. And Lily was standing up straighter now. She worked the office like she'd always belonged there. Arturo stopped double-checking her invoices. The waitstaff started coming to her with their scheduling issues before going to the manager. Ellie had her own drawer in the back room. Diapers, bottles, and a little stuffed giraffe Ethan had bought at a gas station. One Tuesday morning, while Lily was updating the shift calendar, Arturo leaned on the doorframe and cleared his throat. I need you to fill out a W-4. She blinked. What? You're officially on payroll now, he said, like it annoyed him. I'm tired of pretending you're a temporary admin. You're staff. A grin tugged at her lips. Does this mean I get one of those faded black t-shirts? He rolled his eyes. God, I hope not. That weekend, Lily and Ethan walked to the park with Ellie in a second-hand stroller. The sky was cloudless, and families dotted the lawn. Kids squealing near the sprinklers, couples stretched out on blankets. They settled on a bench beneath a tree. Ellie gurgled in Ethan's lap, reaching for his sunglasses. You know, Lily said, watching the baby, I used to wonder if she'd resent me for everything I couldn't give her. Ethan glanced up. But lately, she went on, I think maybe she'll remember this. The park, the small things, the people who made her laugh. She'll remember love, Ethan said, even if she doesn't remember the shape of the apartment or the balance in your bank account. They sat in silence a while, just listening to the city breathing around them. Then Lily turned to him. There's something I've been meaning to ask. Shoot. If I stayed, long term, I mean, would that be okay? Ethan looked at her. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Lily, this isn't a shelter or a stopgap. It's your home if you want it. Her throat tightened. Even with Ellie waking up at 2 a.m., even with my past still clinging to me like static, he smiled gently. Especially then. Later that night, Lily stood on the balcony of Ethan's apartment. Their apartment now. The lights of the city blinked like quiet stars. Inside, Ellie slept curled under a soft quilt. The new monitor glowed beside her crib. Lily held a mug of warm tea and listened. To silence, to breath, to peace. She thought about how far she'd come from that basement hallway, from hiding and apologizing, from tiptoeing through life, afraid to ask for space. Now she had space, not just a place to live, but a place to dream. She didn't know exactly what came next. Maybe classes, maybe something creative, a different job someday, or maybe not. Maybe the beauty was in this, the slowness, the building of something real, brick by quiet brick. Ethan stepped out, wrapping a light sweater over her shoulders. It's late, he said softly. I know. You okay? She turned to him, eyes shining, not from tears, but from something steadier. I think I am, she said. And she meant it. If you like the story, I would be very happy to have your support. Click the thumbs up. And to not miss new stories, subscribe and click on the bell. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all the best.